saw Balboa with the mark. It's gotta be the goal of the year.
Blanco! Oh, that's a beauty there. 2-0 Chicago. Ahí va Cris Armas, aquí está el primero de Mauricio.
Hello everyone and welcome to MLS Round Table presented by SNHU. My name is Diego Pinzon with Univision Deportes, and we have a very special two-part series for everyone watching right now about the Hispanic influence on Major League Soccer. Today in part one, we'll discuss how the Hispanic influence on Major League Soccer in the early days has shaped what we know about MLS today. And we have three very special guests with me today. I have Marcelo Balboa, better known as Chelo to many friends, who has played for Liga MX Club Leon. He has played in Major League Soccer with Colorado Rapids. He was also the U.S. captain, the U.S. national team captain, and a U.S. Soccer Hall of Famer. I also have Herculez Gomez with me. He also played in Liga MX. He also played in MLS, and he played as well for the U.S. men's national team. He played in the World Cup just like my man Marcelo Balboa in different eras. And with us also Octavio Sequera from FutbolMLS.com. He also has covered 2 World Cups. He's also covered 2 Copas Americas. He hasn't played. And 4 Copa Libertadores finals. All right, so for part 1, we're going to talk about the influence of Hispanic culture, the fans, and how it shaped MLS in the past to what we know it as today. The traditions, the songs, the environment, and offline we were talking about with Herc about Barra Brava from DC United, this fan base that has created pretty much the standard for what fan bases in MLS has been.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the fan bases today, the Portlands, the Seattles, the Atlantas, all these new environments within the league, and how much it has grown. Back then, when you spoke about fan bases, there was literally only one that really stood out, and that was Barra Brava. That's DC United and what they did. And you could attribute a lot of that success on the field to what happened off the field.
When you walk into a stadium, the one thing you wanted to see was that fan base. And we knew it was going to take time, but you knew when you went to DC, it was already there. But with Barra, I mean, you'd walk in and DC would score on us. We played for Colorado at the time. We were not good. But the whole stand was jumping up and down. You can see literally the stand, everybody bouncing, and that's what we wanted. That's what we wanted to build. And it's taken time, and don't get me wrong, I think now they're the ones that sparked what you see in Portland and what you see in other stadiums. But for me, they set the standard. Everybody likes going to DC because of that screaming and yelling, and they're bouncing up and down, and they were enjoying. They were having a festival there, and it was awesome.
Barra Brava had this huge Latin American influence, probably South American mainly. And it also came with South American players, Central American players that came to DC United and were very successful there. These players, for you guys, you are also Hispanic American, you are a Mexican American, you were born in Argentina, lived pretty much your whole life here in the US. You're more American than Argentinian.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't
let
me
with that. I'm good with that.
Although your asados are pretty good, I have to say.
Asados?
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice.
These players, how much they matter to Hispanic fans? How much, you were talking about Valderrama. We had Etcheverry, Marco Etcheverry. We had Jorge Hernandez, Jorge Campos. These players Jaime Moreno, Raúl Díaz Arce, players that evolved in a way with MLS in the beginning.
I think that was what attracted people to come, because when you went to LA, the Cienfuegos was going to be there. People remember Cienfuegos.
Of course.
When you went to certain teams, that when DC United came, you were getting Etcheverry. You know what I mean? Then Valderrama.
That partnership with Moreno.
Yeah, so I think that if you go for the first few years of the league, that's what kept this league afloat, is bringing in those South American players, those Central American players. Jorge Campos is coming in, and little by little it kept on trickling more and more. And those big names is what drew people. What is this league about? Let me see one of the best. Listen, Valderrama was one of the best players in the world. Let's just be honest. In our era, not yours, but
No, but I remember that '94 team. Pele dubbed it as the next World Cup champions, and he was the man.
Yeah. So again, it was, for me, it's what kept this league afloat. Was the Hispanic players.
I have 2 sets of players that I followed. One is Mauricio Cienfuegos. I was an LA Galaxy fan, so when I saw this little guy on the field dicing players up, didn't matter how big, how strong they were, they couldn't take the ball off him, and how he had the finesse, he had the vision, he pretty much carried the team at times. I was like, I love this player. I want to learn and watch everything about him. That to me mattered. And the second one is the Hispanic American. For me, representation matters. You know, I grew up and all I would hear about was, you know, Marcelo Balboa, Southern Cal. You know, this guy with the long hair who became the U.S. men's national team captain. And I'm like, well, I was born in the States. You know, I want to play for the U.S. men's national team. This guy's just like me. He made it. And that to me matters. So I'd go out there and watching guys like Marcelo in the '94 World Cup, a defender, do a bicycle kick, be this close to scoring. The one lasting image I have is the bicycle kick and Tony Meoli turning around, looking at the camera and going, you know, those things stick with me. And then I get to see this guy play in my backyard when they come to LA and play against the Galaxy. I loved it.
For us in Venezuela, it was Gio Savarese, the one who opened the door. So for Gio, for us, was like, okay, so he found a league where he can show his talent, because in Venezuela he wasn't able to. And then he went to Italy, and then he went to Europe, whatever. And then he went to the United States, and then he found his place. He found his area. And now you see he was not only the first Venezuelan-born player in MLS, but also he's now the first Venezuelan coach in MLS.
Now we have in MLS, I think for the first time, 4 Hispanic coaches coaching in MLS, and that didn't happen before. The teams were going for European coaches, some American coaches, of course. They were pretty much, you know, the way we call it,
talk about
recycling
some of the more, I guess,
some of them.
successful models within Major League Soccer today, and let's Atlanta, for example.
Yeah.
Technical director is a Mexican American. The head coach is an Argentine, you know, coach.
The U.S. is a melting pot, and I think MLS is a clear example of that. Since the beginning, you know, we brought all these players. We brought this huge investment in the beginning in players that were big in their countries, that probably nobody knew them here, and they started to create a new, as Inus and you were talking about Giovanni Savarese. We were talking also about Carlos Valderrama. He even played in the World Cup while playing in MLS. And that created a different sense of what this league could be. And we're going to get to more of that in part 2. This has been part 1 of MLS Round Table presented by SNHU. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, guys. And, of course, we're going to discuss in part 2 how MLS is today thanks to the Hispanic influence, or how it has also shaped what we know about Major League Soccer today.
The Alba trying to find him and does! And Martinez, of course, finds the back of the net.
But you can't teach what Joseph Martinez has.